Okay, so early phase training, shaping and acquisition phase of training where the dog is basically learning commands. We want to avoid confrontation and correction as much as possible because it's not fair to correct a dog for not complying with the command until they've learned it. That's just basic common sense. So we don't want to just start off, just kind of like popping them with the leash. That's not really teaching them anything. And I think it can have obviously, unintended consequences. It can damage a relationship. So obviously on the first day and then for the first week, sometimes longer, we're focusing as much as possible on conflict-free modes of teaching. Okay, we don't want to rely a whole lot on confrontation, conflict, correction, aversives in general. So one of the things that you run into right off the bat is a lot of the dogs that come in here, they've never been in a kennel before, right? And it's a problem. I live in a private residence. I can't have dogs just flipping out. Like I can't, it's quiet in here. This is how it always is. So it's critical. I can't have barking. Now, you could slap a bark collar on the dog the first day, but that's not how you want to do it. I mean, dog's never been exposed to a stem before. They're going to freak out. That's not, I think it's an unnatural, too. The stem is a very unnatural stimulus. So like for dogs that come in, they haven't had corrections before. To just start using e-collars right off the bat is not a good strategy, I think. I think that's something that should come a little bit later. Get them used to just more natural forms of correction that feel a little bit more organic first, and then you can graduate to that later if you want. Condition them for off-leash work. But in any event, you got to be crafty on how to shape things if you don't really use any or much food. And I don't do that. So one of the ways that you can get dogs to learn stuff is through games, basically. And a good example of that would be with a puppy, very young puppy, where you play a hide and seek game. And you hide on the puppy in, say, like a park, big wide open area, someplace where the dog can't get hurt, but there are places for you to hide. And the puppy will get agitated once he's doing something, then he looks around, you're gone, he's like, oh, where is he? And then you pop out and you say, come, and the dog guy's like, he's happy to see you. You're tricking the dog into learning something through a game of hide and seek. Well, a similar technique can be applied with a whole bunch of different stuff, but one thing that you can do this with is with the kennel. I try to do this early with dogs. So what you do is you just throw something in there, let them go chase it, call them out back to heel. She doesn't really know what heel is yet, but I'm going to say it anyway. And you keep doing it. All right? And another thing I'm doing is I'm building a relationship between her and Mio right off the bat. Mio's her bunkmate. He's underneath the other side of the table. So they can see each other. They're kind of hanging out, sniffing each other. So that's another thing to kind of entice her in there. All right? And I'll go over some other procedural stuff in a second. But I'll just show you, this is a very simple thing. But I got I got like Kong, deer antler. I'm hoping no one likes this thing. I'm like really excited about it. I hope she likes it. If she's really not into any of this stuff, I got a squeaky I can use. I'd throw it in. That'll definitely get her going because she's got a prey drive. And, anything like this, you'd never leave them in with. Anything like synthetic like that, they can tear apart. But I'll leave her in with the deer antler when we finish. So she'll have something to chew if she wants. It's another key thing, by the way. Leave them with tons of stuff to chew. Okay? You got to feed them in there, too. That's how you make them like it. But that's not what we're doing right now. We're trying to just introduce her to it. So let's get Maya out, and I'll show you how to do it. Very simple. Maya, heel. Let's go, baby. Now, with dogs, early on, you want to keep a thick nylon leash on them in the kennel. They'll chew leather, but you want to keep a leash on them in the kennel because some dogs, they're a little sketchy. So if you got to grab the leash, Now you have control over the dog. A dog like her, it's not what's going to go on, but she'll either make a game out of it, not listen. Maybe she's a little timid, won't want to come out. So, just give her a little doot doot. She'll come right out. Doesn't take much, but I don't feel like a dog's a dog until they got a leash on. They're more like a wolf at that point, right? You little wolfie. All right, so let's see if we can get her interested in any of this shit. What's that? What's that? You want it? You want it? Get it? Want to get it? Want to get it? Want to get it? Get it? Kennel up. Go get it. Up. Kennel up. Good girl. Good kennel up. Good girl. Heel. Get it. That's a heel. Good girl. Heel. So she likes this one. What's that? 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 Kennel up. Good girl. Close it. Good. Kennel up. Good girl. Good. Heel. That's it. That's a heel. Good girl. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. What's this? What's this? Ooh. What's that? 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 Okay, kennel up. Good kennel up. Good girl. Heel. Let's go. Heel. Nope. Heel. Let's go, baby. That's a girl. Good. Ready? What's that? What's that? What's that? Good. Get up. Go eat. Get in there. That's it, you little freak. Good girl. Heel. That's it. Heel. Good girl. Very good. All right. We'll take all that synthetic stuff out now. I'll leave her with the deer antler. All right, baby girl. Ready? What's this? Let her have a sniff. What's that? Ooh. What's that? Kennel up. Good girl. Very good. Very good kennel up. Good girl. Repeat the command. Good girl. Good kennel up. I'm trying to reinforce. That's what I wanted to do. I read something I posted the other day. Some guy mocking how trainers do that. Fuck him. Fucking so many dicks in this industry. I repeat the command. In the acquisition phase, I'll say, good girl, good, kennel up. Saying, that's the good thing you did. They can't parse language, but it's just like repeating their name over and over. They hear it, it's eventually going to ease its way in. So there's a lot more talking at this stage as well. Okay, last thing. Now she's got dogs that are a total pain in the ass. Won't stop. Just going bonkers, right? You have the option using a long line. I prefer to use a biothane one for this because, again, they'll chew leather. They'll chew this too, but they're more into leather because it smells. And you can pull on it. You can use paracord too. I meant to have that out. It's long, thin paracord, which it's much harder for them to chew. You could be all the way in the bedroom, give it a little toot, a tug. A dog like this will stop probably immediately. And then again, you have the other leash on her as well. If you need to, kind of like cheat it outside the kennel, just like this. And then, you could go boop and try not to yank them, so that their face smashes up the kennel. Give them a correction just like normal. Sometimes conflict correction is unavoidable, even in the early phase. That's okay, but we want to avoid it as much as possible at the early outset. But with behavioral stuff, I think it's fine to address early. It just totally depends upon the dog. But with teaching and commands in particular, we don't just start popping the dog around. Last thing we want to do, cover this kennel with a blanket. Moving blankets are okay. I'm switching to all chew-proof though. They're like super expensive. Made by, what the hell is the name? K9 Ballistics. Criminals. It's like $100 for a kennel cover, but they don't chew them. So, but this is fine for right now. She's got plenty of chew in there already. And we'll cover it up. She's got little Thurman Merman, the freaky German, right next to her, keeping her company. All right? And I just closed the door to her room. They're like parakeets. Calms them down a lot. People struggle with this, with the kennel and with the blanket over the kennel. This isn't Abu Ghraib, all right? This is where the more stuff that's going on out here that they can't participate in, the more anxious they're going to get. You know, and it's like, I want to go to the party. I want to go to the party. And then help them out. Just here, go in your room and read a book. Let's put the shades down. We'll close the door, give you some privacy. Think about it in those terms. It's close to the truth. So cover it with a blanket. Helps them relax a lot. If you could do it during the day, I have them up front because I'm in and out with them all day. Later, they're in the back. You can do it in a quieter room, in a quiet spot in the apartment or house. It's always better. Okay, so that's getting them to like the kennel. Most important aspect of getting them into the kennel, though, is feeding them in the kennel consistently, every single time. If you just do that, they'll get over their kennel bullshit. As long as you don't leave them in there for too long. I try not to do it longer than 3 hours. I'd say 4 hours is the upper limit. I think it's Sweden, they actually, or some country, they got a law. You can't do over 5. You know, I mean, that's a good rule. I don't know if it should necessarily be a law. Like, some days, maybe you get stuck in traffic at the airport. I don't know. But don't leave them in too long. Don't let them rot in there. Okay? They'll turn them into psychos. Literally. Okay, so that's the kennel stuff. Non-conflict. Acquisition phase early.